ties in nicely there. I wanted him to do a little chat about the tutor, his builds, which some got awards for, and he's done some really cool scratch building, and he'll talk about some of his builds and a little bit about the tutor. Canada's favorite jet. Okay. All right. So thanks for your attention, guys. Let's not overtalk him.
This afternoon, I fell afoul of one of mankind's oldest tricks. Somebody asked me, would you do me a favor? And instead of saying no, or maybe, or perhaps, or what, I said, sure. Stupid. My age, I should know better. Anyway, as you know that.
Hey, for the record, Doug, you're the fourth person that asked.
Oh, well, that's true. Okay. All right. As has been said, these are tutors from my collection. The collection goes back for many years. The very first one is actually a test shot from Hobbycraft that Larry gave me. Somebody gave it to him, and he doesn't build 72nd, especially without tail hooks. So I took this tutor here and did a lot of the extras. I opened up the avionics bay, and I had enough pictures that I'd taken at air shows and things to get a rough idea what went in there. The weapons may or may not be true. I haven't been able to find too many pictures. This is actually the Malaysian Tebuan, which the Canadair managed to sell a number of to the Malaysian Air Force, and they used them as counterinsurgency aircraft until they started to break down with oil leaks and things like that. Then they were sold, and this aircraft actually ended up in the collection of John Travolta, and it was refurbished at up at Godrich, those are the only ones that civilians get their hands on because of the Canadian government's stupid policy of scrapping all military jet aircraft. So you won't see too many. That's why you don't see any CF-100s flying around anymore.
Well, they're also keeping them for the snowbirds as backup. They're not scrapping them. They're all saving them as a snowbird.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking of CF-100 and the Sabre and all those other ones. Anyway, so the Tebuan here was the first one. I opened the avionics bay, as I said, opened up the cockpit, did quite a bit of detail work on it. The pictures of it came, actually, strangely enough, I've got RTs going back to 1969, and one of them, I can't remember off the top of my head which one, had pictures with the markings for the Malaysian one. The Starburst insignia was made for me by Mr. Botitis. This is probably prior to the invention of J-Bot. Yes. And the armaments came from various other sources. I used thicker, fatter tires on it because they were stressed to take wing weights that the regular tutor would not have to take. And I opened up the dive brakes, and the interior is detailed. The seats are Aero Club metal seats, which helps a lot in weighing down the nose. Cut down, they were T33 seats that were cut down. I did glue my teeth in today, honest. And a few other things like the air hoses. I wish I could get more. Jimmy gave me an inch of 1/72nd air hose years ago, and I put it in this, and that was all I had enough to do. I'd love to get more. Okay. This is the 1967, the predecessors of the snowbirds with the golden centenaires, and I did some of the same work with this one. There's a number of things you have to add to it because the kit is not as accurate as one might like. Particularly the rear fuselage should be a lot more rounded than it is. But you can take a file to it and do a bit of damage to it. And the decals are from Hamilton there, Aerographics. And the paint, the gold paint I use is actually the same thing they used on the real one. It's Sheffield Gold Leaf. And I bought a bottle of it, which I had for years. Unfortunately, it's now died. And I want to do the 1/48th version as the same aircraft. This one is a Red Knight.
That company still exists.
Yeah.
They still order the paint, the original paint.
Well, I'm not surprised. Yeah. In the States?
Oh. For years with that. The original paint still there.
Oh, I had a rep from the company give me 2 bottles. Okay, this is a Red Knight. As you can see, I didn't do as much detail on this one. The decals there, again, are aerographics. And I'm not sure whether it flew with the Red Knights team or whether it was a backup plane or what it was. I don't remember the details, too long ago. This one right here was for a centennial, or not a centennial, some anniversary in Winnipeg. It's called the Black Raven. Here again, I didn't do much extra on it. And it's, once again, aerographics provided the decals. This one is one of 3 that I plan to do. Unfortunately, the pitot tube got broken and I didn't have time to fix it this afternoon. But I did a lot of detail inside the cockpit of this one, plus the avionics bay. And I can't find it, but I have a picture somewhere of me sitting on the wing with one of the pilots holding this, and he's, quote, admiring, unquote, it. It's a little bit battered and worse for wear, but I also made a little helmet to sit on the edge of the canopy there, give it a little bit of amusement. And the last built one is from Minicraft out of Czechoslovakia. It's a 1/144th scale resin kit. I did a little bit of detail inside the cockpit, and I opened the canopy, which was a bit of a challenge, an aircraft this small. It's a nice little kit. The decals are really poor quality, so I scavenged them from some old, I can't remember the name now, but I've got a bunch of older than most of you, decal sheets, and I managed to salvage some small rondos out of them that had the proper maple leaves on them. Unfortunately, Europeans, I think they use European maple trees instead of sugar maples to do their maple leaves. Sometimes this sits on its nose and sometimes it doesn't. Besides these 2 brands, I forgot to bring it today, but there's a vacuform kit made by Canvac, which I have partially completed. The beauty of it is it has vacuform canopies, so you can see a lot better into it. Jim Botitis made me some vacuform canopies for these things, and I've used 1 or 2 of them, and I've got a few backup. I've got about 4 kits at home, haven't been built yet. Another company called Astra made another vacuform. I've never seen it, and they also made a resin one, which I also have never seen. I didn't find out until I was reading one of these old RTs that such a thing existed. Just the punchline for IPMS Canada. The old RP, I've got them going back to 1964. And the old, well, and the new ones, of course, some of the best information you can get on Canadian aircraft and tanks and other cars, time wasters like those, are the information from RT is invaluable. I use them as a reference source all the time. And I have it all cataloged so that I can quickly find the particular aircraft that I want, which magazine it's in, and which page it is. I have a large collection of magazines, publications and books and things like that. Never mind my, okay, there's a 1/48th resin one made by Belcher Bits, yeah. And it's a beautiful piece. I had one. You know my memory's going. I had one, but I disposed of it because I knew I'd probably never build it when this one came out. Unfortunately, it copies most of the errors in the 1/72nd kit. But I did get, Neil gave me a set of Golden Centenaires decals from the Belcher kit, which I will use in this Hobbycraft kit. I also have a set of resin cockpit details, which, Rand, did you make them for me, Randy?
Yes, probably.
Yeah, I think so. And they're copied from a guy who used to live out on the prairies, but he's since passed away, so they're no longer easily available. Now,
John, can I ask you a question?
yes,
How far off is the Hobbycraft kit from the real thing? Would you say we've got some nice research material there?
I'll be perfectly honest, I've just rounded them. I haven't really taken a pair of calipers to them and get them,
Well, just
to get them
visually
ready.
speaking.
Theoretically, what you could do Like I've rounded them as much as I could without punching through the plastic fuselage. What you could do is line the fuselage with putty or scrap plastic or something like that and get it in there good and solid and then round it all the way. I'm too lazy to do that. Another project that's come up, Jim Potatis and I discovered that the CL41R was in storage in Brantford. Nobody knew what had happened for a while. It turned out that it was in the Brantford airport, carefully hidden away and theoretically inaccessible. But somehow Jim and I got in there, and the results are a huge pile of photographs there. You're welcome to browse through at your leisure. There's also shows of regular tutors from air shows. Anyway, Jim and I started building this one. The concept behind it, and you'll see two different theories. Some people say that that is the nose for a bow mark, and other people say it's for the CF-104. It's the radar array that's supposed to go on. And Canadair tried to market this to the Air Force, but the RCF wasn't interested. We got a good start on this thing that just sort of tapered off. I think Jim got turned off by the rear fuselage. Someday maybe I'll finish it. We've got lots of detail on it, vacuum form canopies and everything else for it.
Sorry,
I have a number. Yes, go ahead.
what you just showed, what was that version?
That's the CL41R.
So you said that was a,
It was also known as CL41G for some reason.
so it was like a prototype? Or-
Yes, it was. It's definitely a prototype. It never got beyond it flew and it was tested, but there just wasn't a market for it apparently. Anyway, Jim and I saw, I don't know how many years ago we went down to Brantford and saw this thing. Must be about 20 years ago, I think, hey Jim?
20 at least.
Yeah. And haven't heard a thing from it since. I don't know where it is, whether it was scrapped
It
or.
ended up in Toronto.
Did it?
It was at the Toronto Air and Space Museum in the late 90s.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad to hear it wasn't scrapped.
That closed though, so I don't
Yeah.
know where the stuff out of that went.
Sounds like a typical Canadian shortcoming. I have a fair collection of literature on it. If anybody wants to do any research and build one, I'm open to lending my stuff. Heaven help you if you don't return it. But there's a number of RTs, and those RTs are a good enough reason for joining IPMS Canada, because there's more information, even ships and figures, all kinds of stuff show up in there. And the most recent ones are beautifully illustrated with color photographs. And the guys who built those models are not your fine scale modeler builders that leave seams on them. They're top-notch modelers, not just Canadians, but Americans. And I'm kind of surprised at how many Americans have built Canadian subjects, but I'm not complaining. This is the newest box, which Anthony brought in. It's about 6 times as big as the, well, I'm exaggerating. That's the original box there. But it's been issued in a number of different configurations with different markings on it over the years. Most of them are snowbirds. I see this one has quite a few different markings from different locations.
Yeah, it goes to the Malaysian.
Yeah, Malaysian, yeah. Yeah, after, of course, I got Jim to make me Malaysian markings. A couple of years later, they issued it with Malaysian markings on it. Although, yeah.
Doug,
That's
which
pretty.
ones did you win awards for?
Oh, well, the Teb one took a number because the kit was a new issue. As I mentioned, Larry gave me a test shot. It wasn't generally available at that point, and I guess it intrigued a lot of people. Plus, I did a lot of work on it, so it picked up. I think I got a list here. Don't want to draw this out too much, though. Yeah, Guelph 1989, first 72nd jet aircraft, single engine. Pardon?
I love that you have that catalog.
Well, I started to do that with all my models, and then I realized, what's the point? OnCon 89, which was a predecessor of our show, also known as John Con. It got a first there. And then in BuffCon in 1990, I got a second in single engine 72nd jets. And MyCon, I didn't even know where that was. 1996, first, oh, that was collection. I had my collection out there, and it took a first in collections. To be honest, it was the only one entered. And then at our show in 1996, it took first, and there were 3 entries in collections. So that, I feel a little bit better about that one.
How many were entered in '89?
89. Well, that was a Guelph show, so there were quite a few. I remember that show. I've got, as a matter of fact, I've got photographs of it. Hmm? Most of it was American. A lot of it was Navy, I remember. I've got photographs of the aircraft, the award, and the aircraft that were around on the table. So there, like, all my first prize winners aren't the only entry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Why have you built so many tutors?
Because I like them. They're Canadian, and I tend to build Canadian subjects as often as possible, unless it's about something really ugly in British or French. No, I do tend to build more Canadian. For one thing, I do a show, as most of you know, I think, at the Victory Branch Legion on November the 11th every year, and the veterans there like to see Canadian aircraft, because a lot of them are not World War II veterans. They're veterans of later 50s, Cold War, and places like that. So they like to see some, quote, modern aircraft too. So that's one of the other things. And last year there were a bunch of Mounties there, and they got quite a kick out of seeing a Mountie Beaver, which Jim did the decals for me. Incidentally, some of those photographs, I don't know how many, what percentage, Jim was with me. He took a number of those photographs of that prototype that we saw in Bradford. And yeah.
I think there's some photos of you sitting on the wing and me sitting on the wing. You were all over the airplane.
I don't have any of me sitting.
There's lots of photos for sure.
Oh, they must be in your collection then, because I didn't take too many pictures of myself. Selfies weren't in yet.
5
Yeah.
minutes?
Pardon?
5 more minutes?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Any questions? How long is it? Really impressive. I always enjoyed looking into the avionics bay and just really good work. Anybody else have any questions? We'll open it up to.
I realize that not many of you build Canadian aircrafts.
Oh, I do.
For shame.
Yeah.
That's what I'm a little bit into.
But I've got Starfighters and DC-3s and F-104s. 1/144th is a blessing because I can build a whole bunch of them, put them on a small shelf. 72nd, yeah. Starting to take up more room than I've got. It's pretty bad when you have to start giving your models away to the neighborhood kiddies to destroy because you've got no room for them. But,
Well,
same problem.
let's keep going around with lots of great Have a look at it first.
Yeah, I'll leave it. If you've got any questions, I have to have looked at them. I'll attempt to answer them. Okay. I guess you can't look at them. Oh. Thank you. They're all of them were done quite a few years ago, so some of the stuff I'm no longer capable of doing. And other stuff I would do again.
This little guy amazing.
I love doing 144. And detailing.
Because they're fast too, right? I mean,
Well, not necessarily. You'd be surprised sometimes, especially if you decide to detail it.
yeah, that's true. Detailing is different.
Like I did a
You don't use a lot of
CF
paint.
I did a voodoo that I thought I'd be able to do in a day or two, and it took me a couple of weeks because of the extras I had. One thing, I had to hollow it out so that I could put lead in the nose.
That was good, Doug.
Thank you for, I have a tendency to dantix.
Thank you for coming on such short notice.
Are there others in the series that you want to do yet?
Yeah. I don't think there's any more. Well, I've got decals to 2 more different.
Right, snowbirds,
Yeah, the first year and one of the later years.
Oh, no,
This is
like,
19.
you're not in the way. You're in the way of this. I'm going, you're not in front of the camera. What was this?
Yeah, and then there's the NATO one that you did.